He joins us. Presidential candidate has also written a new book called A More Perfect Union. Good morning, Dr. Carson. Thanks for joining us this morning. So did you really tell a gunman to point the gun at someone else?
I just told him, I don't think you want me. I think you want the guy behind the cash register, because he was clearly there to rob the place. He wasn't going to rob it with me.
But that seems to run counter to the advice you were giving earlier this week to people who might confront a gunman now, which would be to run after them, to chase them, to bring them down.
Completely incorrect. Those are not analogous situations. Somebody is there to rob the place and is going to move on versus somebody who is sequentially murdering people. Completely different. And it may be that you can't understand that having not lived on the streets, but that's a very easy distinction for me.
You know, as David pointed out, the Baltimore police don't have a record of this. They don't say there's enough information right there. When did this happen?
Well,
exactly?
of course
what happened in the situation?
Of course they don't have a record of if you don't have the specific date. This happened when I was a resident, more than 3 decades ago.
And what about the current situation? We just got word of another shooting, Northern Arizona University, overnight. Some mental health professionals, some health professionals concerned there's a kind of contagion out there right now, saying that we need to have a public health response. Of course, you're a doctor as well, but you've suggested maybe arming more people, even kindergarten teachers. Are more guns really the answer?
You know, there's a whole series of things that needs to be done. You know, one of the problems with people in the media is they pick one little thing and they say that that's your philosophy on this, which is a bunch of crap. You know, we are sophisticated individuals, and you know, it's going to be a multifactorial solution to this. We're going to have to study these people, see if there are any commonalities. Are there some early warning signs? We need to empower mental health professionals to be more effective in what they're doing, and perhaps if they deem somebody to be dangerous, we may need to put some constraints on those individuals. Do we need to have a mechanism in schools or other places where you can defend yourself? Should we have trained people there with guns? I have no objection to that at all. In fact, if I had a child in the school, I would much prefer that there be somebody who is trained on that campus rather than just leaving them at the mercy of some individual who's lost their senses.
That could be security guards, though, not necessarily the teachers, correct?
It could be a whole host of things. My point being, we have to look at the possibilities, not just seize upon one thing that one person says and try to make that into a big deal.
And what's your response to the director of the Anti-Defamation League, who says your comments about guns and the Holocaust are historically inaccurate?
Which comments about the Holocaust?
The ones where you said perhaps the violence could have been lessened, the Holocaust could have been lessened if the Jewish population had more guns.
You know, that's total foolishness. I'd be happy to discuss that in depth with anybody. But it is well known that in many places where tyranny has taken over, they first disarm the people. There's a reason that they disarm people. They don't just do it arbitrarily.
And finally, how about this news about the House Speaker, Kevin McCarthy? You've praised him for putting others before himself. But other Republicans, like Congressman Peter King, saying this turbulence in the House looks absolutely crazy. Chris Christie comparing it to the Game of Thrones. What message is being sent by this turbulence, even some calling it a civil war in the House?
There's no question that there's turmoil there. And I think maybe the best way to lessen that turmoil is to open the process up and let a number of people who may be interested in the job talk about their vision and their leadership style. And let's get some consensus. I think all of us, even Democrats, probably want to see, you know, effective Congress and effective legislation. So let's do what we can to make sure that that happens.
Some talk of looking outside the House to elder statesmen like Newt Gingrich and Mitt Romney. What do you think of that idea, and would you be open to a draft for House Speaker?
Not at this stage. I would not be open to it, no. You know, I think all of those names are reasonable names. If they're interested in it, let them talk about their leadership style and see if the majority of people are willing to go with that.
And finally, there's some talk that Joe Biden, the vice president, may be considering getting to the presidential race as well. Who do you think would be a more formidable opponent for you, Hillary Clinton or Joe Biden?
Honestly, I don't know that it would matter that much, because the election next year is going to be a monumental election because it will allow the people to make a final choice about whether they want a country that is people-centric or government-centric.
Dr. Ben Carson, thanks very much for your time this morning.